This story was told to me by an acquaintance. I imagined myself in his shoes and fantasized a little, and this is what came out of it. My wife got sick, she was hospitalized, and I was left with a 3-year-old daughter. My work is such that no time off, no vacation now, I cannot take. I couldn't do anything with such a little girl. I had to ask my mother-in-law to help me out. Either let her take Dasha to her place, or she can come to us, but something had to be done. My mother-in-law came to us. I came home late from work, played with Dashka, talked to my mother-in-law. She's a real woman. She gave birth to Valya, my wife, when she was almost 18 and was now in her prime, not even reaching her berry age again. Her character was calm and friendly. She found a common language with my son-in-law, and the age difference between me and her isn't that big. Valya is much younger than me, so there was no friction. On the contrary, everything was nice and fine. My mother-in-law looked after Dashka, cooked, ran the household. That's how we lived. I handed the job over to the client, got a bonus, got home early, played with my daughter, and involved my mother-in-law in the game. Dashka laughed merrily, chasing her grandmother around the room on the back of a hot horse which was playing daddy, holding her ears so as not to fall off daddy's or rather from the horse's back, pounding her heels on the sides, spurring the steed. Noise, laughter, joyful cries of the daughter, it was time for a bath. Dashka, in her usual habit, made a storm and tempest in the tub. My mother-in-law and I were both standing wet, waiting for the ship to dock with Sailor Dashka. The wet road covered my mother-in-law's figure, and her figure was still very, very good. Her mother-in-law's physique is similar to Valya, though a little fuller, but this beautifies her even more, gives her the charm of a mature woman, and their faces are similar. Sometimes they look like two sisters, the younger one and the older one. Her form is a bit bigger, but so Valya is still almost 20 years before her mother, so they will equalize in the future. Yes, my mother-in-law's wet figure gave me some interesting ideas, especially since I haven't had a woman in a long time, and my mother-in-law, her feminine gut felt my interest in her quickly. She pacified Dasha, pulled her out of the stormy ocean, and sent us to bed saying that she needed to change into dry clothes. You see how squelchy Dashka slept, and my mother-in-law and I sat in the kitchen. I bought some wine with my bonuses, and so we sat, tasted this drink, had a conversation about life word for word, and moved on to family problems. My mother-in-law began to say how happy she was for her daughter and what a good husband she had received. Loving, attentive, caring, and affectionate. Let her son-in-law not be angry and not offended. After all, it is well known that mother and daughter have no secrets from each other. That is why she even knows how things are in our personal life. How lucky Valya is to have such a good husband who will carry her to bed in his arms, kiss her, and kiss her all over. My mother-in-law had never seen such a man in a movie, let alone in life. She lived her life with an alcoholic who never said a kind word, never caressed her, only yelled at her. At least he doesn't get his hands dirty. No, Valya lucky, very lucky. And her husband will come home drunk and sleep. And if he needs to do something, he'll do it once a month for a few minutes, stinking of booze, and then go to bed. No kisses, no words of endearment. My mother-in-law told me, tears streamed down her cheeks, her lips curved into a bitter sneer, her nose reddened, she sobbed, wiped her tears with the back of her hand, and continued her narration. And I looked at her and thought that she was a normal woman, but she was not happy. How much a woman needs. I began to calm her down, to tell her that everything would work out. Everything would work out. I stroked her like a child on the head, kissed her. She sobbed even more bitterly. Squatting in front of her, I kissed her weeping eyes, collected tears flowing down her cheeks with my lips, kissed her swollen lips. In a moment, those lips responded to my touch, and a moment later we merged in a kiss that wasn't related at all. The two stood in the middle of the kitchen kissing. In a moment, my mother-in-law moved her shoulders, and my robe fell off completely, revealing a beautiful picture. My mother-in-law pressed my head against hers, whispering all about some sin, and I continued with my eyes covered. She asked me not to look at her, so fat and ugly. A woman loves her ears, and therefore my words that her figure is beautiful, that it is perfection itself, that it still can give joy to man very, very long, will be able to make her proud of such a shape, such a figure. I said a lot of other things I do not remember now. It is known that at this point, a man's tongue becomes boneless, and the words flow out by themselves, bypassing the brain. And then he picked up my mother-in-law in his arms and carried her into the room. Everything spun and spun and spun. We started doing the same thing. About 20 minutes later, we were cuddling. We had neglected water. It just felt so good that we didn't want to get up and go somewhere or do anything. In the middle of the night, Dashka woke up and whimpered. We jumped up together with my mother-in-law and rushed into the nursery. My mother-in-law leaned over her crib and hummed something. Rocking Dasha, performs gleaming in the half-light of the room, did not leave me indifferent, and I continued on. Soon her voice began to break. The song toppled off for them. She turned, grabbed me by the neck, and stood on tiptoe. That's how we reached the bedroom. Without breaking the embrace, we collapsed on the bed. In the morning when I went out to the kitchen, my mother-in-law was making breakfast. Dashka was still asleep. My mother-in-law was cheerful, happy, she moved easily and even hummed something. Standing in the doorway, I wished her a good morning and watched with pleasure as the forms played under her robe, how they walked back and forth. I naturally began to worry. I wanted to repeat what I had done yesterday. My mother-in-law stood frozen, waiting for the continuation of yesterday. We had to hurry. Her daughter would wake up soon, and it was not right for her to watch her father having fun. After washing her daughter's sleepy face, they began to get ready for her mother in the hospital. Valya was happy to see us together, quietly asking not to hurt Mom. Then in privacy, whispered about something with his mother, while we and Dashka collected leaves from the hospital garden. At home, my mother-in-law told me that her daughter had asked her to keep an eye on me so that I wouldn't sneak off somewhere. She asked me to replace her temporarily, acting as my wife. Of course, she was ashamed to say so, but she had always considered her mother her friend, and she had no one else to ask. And my mother-in-law promised to do everything she asked her daughter to do. Putting Dashka to bed, now our fun was unhurried but emotional nonetheless. There was a woman awake in my mother-in-law, and this woman was trying to take advantage of the chance sent to her by Faith. In the evening before going to bed, we were discussing in the kitchen where else to fulfill Valya's request. And I cried. I was not lying about how much she loved me if she dared to make such a request. And my mother-in-law cried, I'm glad for my daughter for the fact that she has such a husband. Valya was discharged from the hospital. My mother-in-law left. I don't know what she told Valya and what she hid. Only Valya started sending me to my mother often under the pretext of helping me. And when I came back, she didn't ask me anything except that the very thing we had that day was so violent as Valya was going off the chain. And I also noticed that my business trips to my mother-in-law coincided with Valya's those days. After a while, Valya herself admitted to me that she had pushed my mother into it. She was a little jealous, but looking at how my mother blossomed, she was happy for her and did not regret what she had done. After all, she has enough of me. And sometimes my activity is even superfluous. Enough, and my mother is very grateful to her daughter for her wisdom. Only Valya worries that I'll get used to my mother and fall out of love with her, my wife. Kissing me, he reassured me that no one in the world is dearer to me than she and Dashka. And we never stopped having fun with my mother-in-law, and often when my mother-in-law visited us, Valya would send me to her room herself. One day after a feast on some holiday, it happened that the three of us were having fun. And the sky did not fall to the ground, and the earth did not open up under our feet. After a while, my father-in-law passed away drunk. My mother-in-law moved in with us, and her house was left as a summer house. Thank you for listening to the story to the end, and if you like it, please support us with a like, as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you think about the story.